Welcome to my channel, Comic Book Noise, where we talk about my comic book company, Digital Noise, where we explain the characters and the storylines of the Digital Noise universe. Today, I want to talk about an interview I had in 2009, and it was an interview with NPR News, and they did an interview with me on my created comic book title called The Positive Omen. It was a very interesting interview. I was very shocked when they called me to request an interview about my comic book title, and I was very honored. And I still hold it as like a Grammy Award today or something like that. But it was very interesting because the positive omen was something that I created from the heart. And it was something that I felt strongly about, and it's about HIV and AIDS awareness. And you can look at earlier videos that I did in the Digital Noise, Comic Book Noise, channel that I have in YouTube. And you can see what the origins of the Omen, how they started, and you can learn a little bit more about the Omen. So to put it in a small summary, the Omen is a superhero group where all the superhero members are HIV or AIDS positive. So this started I think, this title I created in 2005 or 2006. No, it was 2007 because it was like right after the delete, because they were introducing delete number 2. And for years, I had a strong activist energy about me. And one of those energies of the subjects I focused on was HIV and AIDS awareness. And I know it affected a lot of people that I know or knew and love. And so I felt very passionate about the subject of HIV AIDS awareness, about safe sex and all that stuff. So when I started working at Marvel, it was in the 90s. And so in the 90s, I used to advocate for more diversity, more inclusion, as with races as well as with sexuality and exploring that. I know they had a few different types of characters with sexuality, but they never expressed it or showed it. It was like when North Star of Alpha Flight came out as gay, but you never saw his gay lover, you never saw anything of the sort to tell that if he was gay or not. And so I used to advocate for different races to be represented in more powerful characters, or characters equal as their white counterparts, and as well as characters that display different sexualities to show representations of different types of people. And Marvel, DC, just in the comic book hemisphere and industry in general, I used to, everywhere I went, I was sort of like a loudmouth. So I sort of advocated for those issues to show more representation in comics. And so when I used to do that, people used to laugh at me and all that other stuff. And different editors I used to suggest that to. So, and plus during that time, I was very, very young. So I was exploring my sexuality during that time. And so, but back then it was such a taboo to show representation and to display their lifestyles in the comic book. So I for a long time, I had it in my mind to create my own comic book that displayed those representations. And so that's how I came up with Digital Noise in the beginning of the millennium. So, first was an African-American woman. And, I can go into that. And Delete number 1 came out, I think, in 2006 or 2005. And then I also created the Omen, which I said before that started that they were introduced in issue number 2 of Delete. But that's enough of the story about my comic book. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about my NPR news interview, and it was very enlightening and very insightful for me to see what a stamp that my independent comic book made in the young comic book industry, because no of things that I did in my comic book, the industry never had done before. So like in the Omen, as she discussed with me, and the young lady who interviewed me was Faia Chideda. And so she was asking me very in-depth questions, and she was shocked to see that right on the first page of the Omen negative issue, which was the first issue that came out in publication, the first page I showed 2 men in bed nude, and it looks like they had a intimate relationship with each other. So one was sleeping, one was still in the bed looking, which was the lead character Nightcry and his lover Javon. So it was very shocking because that was the first page I showed. It wasn't anything pornographic or anything like that. So it was such, as you see in the interview, you'll see how it went, and what focus I have for the positive omen, and what direction I'm taking my comic book company industry into before any other company was doing it. So you'll see it in 2009. Just checking the link below in the description section. So I hope you enjoy it, and you'll see what the positive omen is about, because they're coming back again pretty soon. And so the titles that I'm coming out with are, of course, Delete. There's the positive omen, there's the sound system, and there's Red Alert that spins from the positive omen. So just get ready, but enjoy the interview. Stay safe and take care.